Hi there, welcome. This is a short video showing the Wwise project for the recently released game Office Freakout. It came out 3 days ago on Steam, and I was the technical sound designer for that project. I actually made another video for this, and I recorded through the wrong microphone. So if you saw that, I apologize because it's horrible, so I'm going to have another crack at it. So hopefully this one will replace that very quickly. Cool, let's get underway. I will show a little bit of gameplay footage now, just to kind of give you an idea of the world that we're living in. Basically, this is a game about destroying stuff. It's nothing too deep, it was never really intended to be. It's just kind of like a fun, stress ball kind of game. You play as Philbert, as you can see, you just got fired and you want to destroy your office. There are some levels of depth to this game. It's not actually easy. You need to plan a route through, find special objects, weapons to increase your destruction, etc. But some of the core kind of tenets of the game that I needed to focus on for sound were the fast-paced aspect. You can't really waste your time when you're in there. You need to be constantly working against the clock to reach the goals. And also the gameplay is very focused around the rage meter, which is in the middle at the top of your screen, and that is how you access your weapons and really succeed at a level is to unlock the rage meter. So it was really important to try and give a lot of player feedback with the sound, how they're doing, increasing the rage meter. So, one of the ways that we decided to go about doing that was to use the music. The music was much loved by the team. The composer's one of the founders of the team, and so everybody really loves his music, and so we wanted to make that quite a focal point. So, essentially, what I ended up doing was creating a vertical mix where each track has between 5 and 8 stems, which increase in intensity and volume and instrumentation, and we tied those to a meter, the rage meter here, which is the same as the visual meter on the screen. It's giving the same value, 0 to 1. And basically we have a vertical mix that I will show you in 1 second, but let's just listen to it very quickly. So I'm going to play a random song.
Someone better call HR.
And as we increase the rage meter, you're going to hear a smooth transition between all of the different layers of the song. All the way up to full intensity and back down. So one of the tricks was that, yes, that sounds fine as a smooth intensity curve increase, but the way the game worked, that wasn't necessarily the case. If you destroyed a big object, there would be a large jump in your rage meter. If you were not destroying them, it would be not a large, it would be decreasing. So, though that increase was interpolated, there was some form of a curve on it. It would effectively jump in small increments. So I needed to smooth it on my end, and I think I did a pretty good job of that. I'll just run through that quickly with some slightly less smooth rage meter increases.
You gotta wear multiple hats around my ticket number, like demolition.
Oh, why is it playing twice? Sorry, Soundcaster phone. Let me just stop everything.
CEOs.
There we go.
Filbert, can you run that report? No!
So as best as possible, I tried to smooth the interpolation curves so that you wouldn't hear any jumps, you wouldn't hear anything just dropping up. And that's basically just having pretty long fades on the vertical mix. So I'll just show one more thing in Soundcaster before I go back and show you what it's built up of. So once your rage meter reached 1, you would switch into rage mode. And this I used basically a stinger system with some states and triggers to get that cracking. So essentially, while you're in no rage, the normal music is playing. When you switch over to rage, the main music gets muted, and the rage music is allowed to play with this trigger. So I'll just show that very quickly.
Time to do more with less.
So you head all the way up, and then we're going to switch into rage. And then when rage ends, we fade smoothly back to the original music. So that, well, again, pretty effective. So I will just head over to the interactive music hierarchy here, and just quickly open this up and show you. What's going on behind the scenes. So we have 5 different songs in this game. As you can see, they have a various number of layers. And if we go to the RTPs, well, yeah, I'll show you the RTPCs first. So you can see this first layer. So the first layer has no RTPC, that plays consistently throughout. And as you increase your rage meter very slightly, you're going to start to fade in this second track, and the third will come in sort of once that one is almost all the way in. You're going to get another one coming in, and so these long fades were the way I managed to give the player instant feedback. So you can see as soon as you're jumping out of 0 on the rage meter, you're getting some kind of feedback from the music that you're doing a good job. And 2, because of the long curves that overlap, there's no noticeable dropping and ducking of sounds if there are larger increases or decreases in the rage meter. And so you could also see here that we have the states setting the volumes of these guys. So when there is no rage active, you are prior to the rage meter filling. You can hear this, and when rage happens, it will be removed until rage ends, and then it will play again. The nice thing about doing it that way is you get to do it on beat. So I've been able to set the tempo for all of these songs, so all of the changes are happening prettily. So that's the same for this rage music trigger. So you can see here we have another stack of all the rage musics for the individual. Each track has its own rage music stinger. So it was simply a matter of tying the correct stinger to each music track, so that when rage was triggered, the rage stinger for that correct track would play at the next beat. And you basically, it means a seamless changeover, and we play a little VO asset to kind of cover up that beat, or half beat or fractional beat that might occur when the change happens, and vice versa on the way back out. It seemed to work pretty good. So there is one more factor of the music implementation that I'll just touch on quite quickly, and that's this timer. So essentially what we wanted to do was show the player that there was 10 seconds or less left in the game, because time is a big factor in this game. You You need to, like, having 30 seconds is a loads of time, but once you get down to 10 seconds, you really need to start be heading for the exit, finding the key. So we really needed to give the player a very clear indication that time was getting to that point. We have a VO asset at 30 seconds. We have an air horn that plays as well. I didn't put that in, but I can play it. Over the timer. Oh, no, that doesn't live there. It lives in VO because it's coming out of the speakers. Anyway, that's fine. We'd have a timer that would play to let you know time was approaching, but really wanted to mark those last 10 seconds. So the first thing I went for was a ticking clock, which is kind of seemed like, I guess, the obvious choice. But it didn't work. It was fine, but it didn't work. Basically because time is quite variable in this game. When you get rage, there's kind of a little slow-mo instant where your enemies will slow down to give you a second to kind of gain advantage on them by entering rage. Same if you pull out a rage weapon, there is a moment of slow motion, time dilation. And then, about a week ago, before release, they added in these slow-mo perks, which I will go into in a second, which drops the dilates time massively in the game. So there were plenty of ways that triggering a tick each second or fractions of seconds was just not working. That was not actually a consistent form of time in the game. So I came back again to the music being quite strong, and came up with what was in the end obviously a relatively simple solution, which are always the best kind, and that was just I created a shaker loop that was in tempo with each of the 5 different songs, and dropped it in and used the exact same implementation. So it would be silent if it was actually a stinger. So similarly to the rage music, when you reach the 10-second timer, the timer trigger would play, and you would have this shaker loop on top of the music fitting to the tempo. So let me just show you how that sounds. I think it was quite effective.
Oh, I'm gonna SEO on your VPN ASAP.
So we'll just bring that up a bit, and we're going to reach 10 seconds. And if you're in rage, it still works. And multiple songs, different tempos. And because of the syncopation of the music, you know, being kind of dubsteppy, having a very straight shaker actually sounds sick, as well as adding a nice level of intensity. So suddenly we found that our players, rather than kind of just meandering around and being like, oh, the level ended, were quite acutely aware, with the combination of the siren going off and then having that shaker implemented into the sound. So yeah, that was a nice way to find a slightly non-traditional solution. There you go. There's the timer. So that's the combination of things that will happen. Cool. So that's kind of the challenges with the music. Worked well, was fun. The music was good. So that always helps to come up with some interesting implementations for it.